Hello, welcome again.
Hello and welcome to Conversations That Sometimes Make Sense. Today's conversation is for April 19th. Could you hold this for a second while I drink some water?
Mm-hmm.
I was talking in our last video and I got a frog in my throat. Okay, we're back. The name of today's entry is Our Sphere of Impulses.
Sphere of impulses. Okay.
That makes me think of where our impulses come from, like the place that they come from or live inside of.
I have this image of them being outside somehow, but
It's
that's
kind of
just
vague at this point.
That's where it is.
Okay, let's see if Marcus Aurelius can clear this up. He says, Epictetus says we must discover the missing art of assent and pay special attention to the sphere of our impulses, that they are subject to reservation, to the common good, and that they are in proportion to actual worth. Oh boy. Okay, Epictetus says we must discover the missing art of assent. A-S-S-E-N-T. This is a word I don't know.
Assent.
Let's see if we can figure it out with the rest of what he's saying. Then he says, and pay special attention to the sphere of our impulses. So I'm going to take that as an impulse means my drive to do something. I want something. I have an impulse. So he's saying, pay attention to this sphere.
Yeah, because you first might have some thought that comes through, and that thought says this idea of hey, I want this thing, right?
Yeah.
And now, maybe even without thinking, but there is thinking, right? But you just had this thought, and then that thought sparks this mechanism of this impulse of I'm gonna move, I'm gonna get up and go do the thing that I have
Right.
triggered that impulse or something. The thought triggers the impulse, and then the impulse triggers the body movement or whatever the movement. It might be an internal movement, more triggering more thoughts or something, like an impulse to think about something.
Right. I mean, a perfect example of that would be just a day in the life of a knowledge worker who spends all day sitting at a desk, but inside is okay, now I'm going to check my inbox, and now I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to do that.
Yeah, so they're moving maybe their mouse or, some movement, but it could be without movement. I'm just saying
physical movement.
There's a lot of physical impulses, right? If something is
fire or something.
You go, wow, pay attention, what he's saying.
Yeah, to the sphere of our impulses.
He's saying pay attention to the sphere of our impulses, and sphere is just kind of like a container of where these impulses
exist, like your body or something.
Be sure, yeah, somewhere in there, yeah, because they're reacting from within this.
They come from a system,
right?
And so maybe that's just what it is. It's just the system of
right. And so then he's not saying don't have them. He's just saying
correct.
Pay attention to them.
Correct.
And pay attention to them is what is
this way. It's this way. He said there's three things.
Okay.
So thing number one, that they are subject to reservation. And I think what he means here is discipline. Because subject to reservation means holding back or something.
You don't want to do something.
Yeah, you need to subject them to holding them back. You need to put them under the spell of being held back.
Maybe don't have them when they want to be triggered so badly.
Discipline to not act. Discipline, I think, is a good synonym for what he's saying here.
I have a good kind of analogy about it, like, or example about
Okay.
like interruption in conversations.
Mhm.
Like we might be saying something, and some of you might be saying something, and then you're the listener has
Mhm.
all of a sudden something makes sense, and now that making of sense triggers this thing that you want to now say, oh yeah, I get it, right? And there's this impulse to say it, but now you're essentially listening to that impulse, and now because you're listening to that impulse, now it's being seen as you're interrupting. But and you're like, wait, I'm not interrupting, I'm adding to this conversation. Yes, but you're adding to this conversation based on this internal impulse that wants to just fire like this, and you just, I'm gonna do it, right? Versus like, so what he's saying, pay attention to it. Oh, I have it. I have this eagerness in me to interrupt right now because I have this cool idea. Okay, maybe I won't do that right now. Maybe
Right.
I will. Maybe I'll say it if I remember it. I'll say it, and if I don't remember it, maybe I'll be pissed off that I don't remember it, and I'm gonna say to myself, I should have interrupted because I could have got my point across, right, or something. But all of that needs to be looked upon and say, oh, okay, that's now there. Now I have this eagerness to say something. Let me try not to say it. Keep listening. Okay, cool. Now we come to the end of your side of the conversation, and now I want to add my part, and I go, oh, I can't remember, right? And so now I have to say, okay, that's okay. I need to let go of that. I don't remember. I don't want to have a reaction. That sucks. Why can I remember? Oh, what's going on? Why can I remember? No, I want to have, oh yeah, this there was just an opinion. It was just a thought. It doesn't matter. It comes and goes. I'm letting it go. So all of that has to be watch out for, or like pay attention to, as what he's saying.
Mhm.
So okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's like the impulse comes, and without discipline, we just let it turn into behavior automatically. And so he's saying, like, put this space in between the impulse and the behavior where you decide, do I follow through on this impulse now? Do I follow through on this impulse later? Do I follow through on this impulse never?
Right. And then, yeah, exactly. But now you said the word discipline, like you have to have discipline, like that's the answer of how you fix it. But then what is discipline in this example? Like
I just mean discipline with those impulses, with catching the impulses before they turn into behavior, and making a conscious choice about what am I going to do with this impulse.
So maybe not discipline, but maybe like practice that.
Yes, like be disciplined with the practice of that. I'm
Be
not talking about discipline like wake
be-
up on time or something.
Be disciplined with trying to catch it.
Yeah.
Like the mechanism of trying to catch it, say, maybe like if you remind yourself, maybe before a conversation with your loved ones or wherever, work, before you go to a meeting, you say, hey, okay, I'm going to pay attention to those impulses. Kind of like one of those chapters back that says, remind yourself in the morning, I might run into some people that we're going to rub each other wrong way. So get ready for that. It might happen today. Okay, if I do that, if I remind myself this, then if I run into those people, I'm kind of like, oh, hey, this is the thing that I was reminding myself of.
Right.
This is similar. Remind yourself you're going into that meeting. You say, oh, hey, here it is. And then as the meeting is going on, somebody's talking, and now you have this idea, and it's maybe contradicting of what you're hearing. So you want to get your point across, and now you have this eager, what is it? The impulse. Thank you. To interrupt it and go and say that, and now you might say, oh, there it is, and not do anything with it.
Right.
Or do something with it later, like, okay, now that you've finished, thank you for your opinion, let me say what I'm thinking about this, right? And so now it maybe even comes across less emotional, less reactive.
For
so
sure.
you're actually gaining a lot of control.
So much control.
By you have control over yourself, over this reaction, and by having that control, you also project this control outside, and people say, oh, this person is calm about this whole thing.
You become a different person in the eyes of others.
100%.
And maybe where I was driving at with the discipline was that, if and when we become good at controlling our impulses, we turn into a disciplined person. Becoming a disciplined person is a result of us looking at our impulses, because that's what discipline is. It's overriding that. It's like, hey, I want to sit on the couch. That's my impulse. But I know I need to get up and do X, Y, or Z. And so I'm going to purposefully I'm paying attention to this and I'm overriding it because now is the time to move on and do something else. And so, I think it's being disciplined in the practice, but then when we get good at the practice, we turn into just a disciplined person, period.
Yeah, the discipline will trickle down into other things, but it also will become more in control of what we have control over.
Yes, this is maybe one of the ways to gain control within the domain of the things we have control over.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that a lot. The impulse thing. Okay. So that was so he's saying pay attention in 3 ways. That's one way to pay attention to it.
Let's do it.
The second way to pay attention to your impulses is, he says, to the common good. So I think what he means here is that when you have an impulse, it's like we need to develop the instinct or the ability to weigh the impulse against the common good. Does this impulse serve the whole collective universe that I'm a part of? Or does this impulse serve me and me alone?
Right. So like is it selfish or?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Number 3.
Yeah, so if it's, okay, I see. So if it is in the common good, then he's maybe saying do act on that impulse.
Right.
Maybe also pay attention to it so you don't actually are reactive to it, but do act upon it.
Yes.
Versus some of them are the selfish, like that's my opinion, those you might not want to follow up on. Those you might want to just let go.
Right.
So if it's in the sense of common good, then like fight for the society essentially, because you might be actually on the right side of the collective good, and that gives you more leverage, not to win the argument, but like you standing on the right side of the aisle because you're representing multiple people who are agreeing with you versus this other side represents not as, I mean, there you go, politics, right? But anyway, something like that.
Yeah. Number 3. And that they are in proportion to actual worth. And so I think what he's driving,
I'm sorry?
They are in proportion to actual worth.
Proportion to their worth, okay.
So I think what he's driving at with this is that we have an impulse to want something, to buy something, to do something, to spend a lot of time with something, but how much is this actually worth? What's the real value or cost of this thing? And so this is another important thing that I need to look at when I see an impulse. It's like, okay, I may want this thing, but like, what's that going to cost me, or what's this worth?
Yeah, like I'm now seeing it from, like you said, spending time with something. Like you might have an impulse to, let's say, go play a video game.
For 12 hours.
Or go, so it's interesting because that is not an impulse. There's the new impulse to keep going.
To keep going, yeah. But it's refreshed every moment.
It's almost a refresh.
Yeah.
But you could say, like, well, is it bad to play video games? Like, no, go play video games. Have the impulse, listen to that impulse, but no, you say, there it is. There's the impulse to want to go watch Netflix right now. okay, what time is it? Okay, I have an hour. I can go watch Netflix right
It's
now.
worth maybe that.
It's worth that hour,
my time to
to
relax
do that.
or-
I analyze that
Yeah.
impulse, and now I can say, yeah, let me go watch it. So let yourself to. It's not about like, oh, screw all the impulses. No,
Right,
they are
right,
very
right.
helpful and good for us. They save our lives and all that stuff, but they are also used. We use them this. Kind of not careless way, but maybe like we don't pay attention to it. That's what it is. It's like it's there, but we're just like, what? No, it's not.
and that is interesting, because with the worth part of this, it seems like this is a really valuable way to determine how to spend my time. Because with the common good, I can self-justify that spending all day on the couch does nothing one way or the other for the common good.
Right.
And so then I can't use that as my way out. Like, I have to get up off the couch because the common good is going to suffer if I don't. It's like, no, the common good is going to be fine. So now it comes into this one of like, okay, but what is this worth? What is it worth for me to sit on the couch versus what is it worth for me to get up and move through the list that I built myself in ClickUp, or
if you build your
or what is it worth to go build myself a list in ClickUp of things to do, to like create a to-do list, or cook something for the week, like soup for the week or something, like
make some plan for something.
Go call a friend, connect with somebody. Like, all of those have like way more little points attached to them than me sitting on the fucking couch. And that is an interesting thing, because I've often battled with time. Like, time and I have not always been on the best terms. Like, I have often felt like I'm not spending my time the right way.
Yeah, and then I mean, you said time many times throughout this conversation, and that just makes me think of like the ending part that what Seinfeld was talking about, like having before you might have this impulse, and then I go, hey, I want to go play video games. Okay, to myself, how long am I gonna go play video games?
Yes, have an end in mind.
Have the end in mind, and literally put your clock over there and say, I have an hour. Okay, I'm playing an hour. And when that hour hits, that's discipline. Now you're putting it down, and you're saying, and you did reward. Discipline is not to say, I'm not going to play this video game. That's not discipline. That's torture. Right? No, I will do it, but for how long? Well, I can't. Is it good for 4 hours? Like, no. Like, everyone knows 4 hours of playing video games or doing really anything without break is really not ideal, right? So then, like,
except for sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. But you get breaks there too. You probably wake up and stuff. But so no, having it. That's having making the cake and eating it too, right? Like having it like, okay, I will play the video games. What do I think? 2 hours? 2 hours is a lot. Okay, 2 hours. I'm gonna put 2 hours. Boom. Put my phone there, and it's 2 hours. And when that time hits, get up and leave. Go do the next thing, whatever that impulse is to do the next thing. And if you don't know what those impulses are, now you're talking about making those lists in the morning too, or before the week, like, I want to do this week or this today. And now when you're playing the video game, you go, oh, my time is about to end with the video game. How fun was it? 2 hours, man. I was almost done half an hour ago, but okay, I'm here, right, till end of, you don't have to, but you get, and now you go, I know what I'm gonna do,
right?
I have
versus
this thing.
the now what?
Versus now what? Well, nothing. So I'll just sit here and keep playing it.
Yeah.
And no, like,
that is a big problem,
even if you have nothing planned after that, do stop that thing.
Yeah.
And this goes for things that you want to do, and also for things you don't want to do, right? Because, like, I use this for chores, right, as well. Like, hey, I can go do chores, but let me put half an hour, and then I will stop that chore. I'm done, right? But like, but if I don't put that half an hour, now I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's gonna take me 3 hours. It's never gonna get done. It has all of this opinions and thoughts about it, and yeah. So like, yeah, it's something what you were saying about the time. I'm saying having the time beginning, but also the end of that time.
Yeah.
Super vital.
Yeah.
If the end's not there, you're not doing it. It's not gonna continue. You're not gonna be able to keep it up.
Yeah.
Because your schedules gets all over the place. Now you're watching TV for 3 hours and it's all over. Yeah. Good stuff.
Wow. Well, speaking of time, is it time to move on to Ryan?
Yeah, let's do it.
We haven't even gotten to Ryan. I love Marcus's quotes because they just are like these rabbit holes that you can go into for freaking ever. Okay, Ryan. Here we have the emperor, the most powerful man in the world, quoting in his diary the wisdom of a former slave. And from what we know, Marcus might have had direct notes from Epictetus's lectures via one of his former students.
He emailed them to him. On the
That's a joke.
on like a rock plate or something. Send.
Put it in the cloud. That wisdom was ultimately about surrender and serving the common good, about the limits of our power and the importance of checking our impulses, something every person in authority needs to hear. Power and powerlessness seem so rarely to enter the same orbit, but when they do, it can change the world. Think about President Abraham Lincoln meeting with, corresponding with, and learning from Frederick Douglass, another former slave of considerable wisdom and insight. In any case, all those men lived by the same principles expressed here, that in our lives, whether we're experiencing great power or powerlessness, it's critical to leave room for what may happen and keep the common good and the actual worth of things front and center. And above all, be willing to learn from anyone and everyone, regardless of their station in life.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I don't know, nothing really stood up from that. I like the end, the last sentence was good, like, because it's like a different angle on it or something.
Yeah, the willing to learn from anyone and
Yeah.
everyone, regardless.
Yeah.
That seems to me like Ryan's own flavor that he added in here.
I'm reading it in a way that it's like, if you don't act on those impulses right away, you will learn more.
Yes.
This is how I'm looking at it or something.
Yeah, okay. I like that.
Because we can only learn when we're listening. Nothing actually, yeah, it's like not like you cannot learn when you are speaking. Well, you could have some connections, I guess, when you're speaking. Like you might be speaking about something and it's like something clicks, and so you might be learning something from within, but you can't learn from someone else when I'm speaking. Right?
Coolio. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Oli.
Thank you, Betty.
Uh-oh.
I was gonna go like this, like across our elbows.
Like this?
Yeah,
Like power.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
stoic power.
Stoic power.
Thank you. At home. See you soon.